Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about a new camera, can't cancel that. Hey everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at the Holga 120N. It is a film camera. It is a camera that's made almost entirely of plastic. The lens is plastic. It's been referred to as a toy, which I think is somewhat of a negative connotation. I think if you're going to call this camera a toy, then you would really need to call every camera a toy. This camera can get some really solid images. And a camera doesn't need to have, all these crazy features to it, right? As long as you're getting the images that you want to get with the camera, I think it's working. I think it's working how it's intended to. I'm thinking about pinhole cameras. I'm thinking about box cameras. I mean, as long as you're creating the work that you want to create, that's what's important. You can do that with whatever tool you have available, because at the end of the day, this is only a tool, right? This is only a tool. It's going to be your eye, it's going to be your sense of competition and your own style that really dictate the images. So I like this camera. I don't use it all the time, but I've used it enough to kind of have some tips and tricks for you guys on loading the film in here. It is a very, I don't know how to describe it. It's not finicky because it's a very odd camera. There's some things that you're gonna have to do that aren't in the instructions to kind of get the images that I'm hoping you're trying to go for. We'll go over that. One of the main things is you basically need to seal the body in gaff tape to make sure you're not getting as many light leaks. This camera also has the reputation for being sort of like this artsy camera. And again, it has this negative feeling for that. And I don't understand kind of the negativity towards this camera and the images that it gets. And I think because of the light leaks and almost like this filter-esque appearance of the images that people kind of just rip it apart. Photography is not about getting the sharpest image. I mean, unless that's what you want to do, that's great. But photography is about taking the images that you want to take and that resonate with people. And the images that you can get with this take great images, I think. And so that's why I think this camera is a great camera, because it allows me to shoot in a way that I wouldn't be able to shoot with any other camera. I'm getting images out of this camera that I just couldn't get with other cameras. And I think there's something beautiful about that. And one of the reasons why I love shooting with this. So let's go ahead, let's take a look at how to load some film in here. Let's take a look at some of the quirks of this camera, go over some of the buttons and everything here and kind of dive deep into it. And yeah, let's take a look at the Holga 120N. Okay, so this is the Holga. You can see here that it is very plastic. Pretty much everything on this thing is plastic. There's a little bit of metal here, obviously, on the sides and up here on the cold shoe. But they also have the little metal thing inside of here too. So this camera is mainly plastic, and that is including the lens. The lens is actually a plastic lens. It's not a glass lens. And so you're gonna get some weird imperfections here when you're working with the Holga. So the Holga can go to f8 and f11, and the shutter speed is bulb or 1/100th. So you can switch that down here. If you wanted to do, a longer shot, you can switch to bulb and actually just hold down the shutter release here. But mostly you're going to be shooting on the N setting, which is 1/100th shutter speed. So there's not a lot of options basic for you. Up here you can see that we have different settings. We have the mountain setting for landscapes, a little bit closer for a group of people, family style, and then portrait. That's kind of your focusing. That's what you're using to focus. This aspect does take some getting used to, trying to figure out what setting works best. I would probably recommend to either start off on the mountain and shoot some landscapes to see what you're gonna get, or go for the portrait and kind of try that out if you're more of a portrait shooter, to see the kind of images that you're gonna get with that. But those are your only options, right? You're very limited in this camera. It can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what kind of shooter you are. I like that. I like sort of the challenge of that, working within the parameters of this camera and trying to create some really captivating images. That's kind of it, really. I mean, your shutter, like I said, your shutter release is right here. You have you advance your film with the wheel right here. Let me take this tape off. This is some gaff tape. So one of the things that we'll talk about, and one of the things you'll have to do is you'll have to gaff tape all the areas on this camera that light can leak into it to protect your film. And this is one of them. You can shoot with 120 for 12 shots, or if you want to have a different kind of film for the 16, you just move that up here to remind yourself of that and see in this little window where your film is. But for what we shoot, we're going to go with the 12 and the 120. So that's a little gaff tape that I use to kind of block it when I'm shooting to kind of keep out the light leaks. I do like a little bit of light leaks. I mean, that's one of the reasons I do shoot Holga, is you get some really nice aberrations. It becomes a little bit experimental, and it's just really fun to shoot because of that. So let's go ahead. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything on this, guys. I really want you to be able to just take this out and shoot. So like I said, I would recommend shooting on mountain or portrait. Oh, I did forget one thing. So you can shoot on sunny or cloudy. I would generally recommend shooting this thing in the sun. You mainly want to shoot the Holga outside. You can shoot it indoors with a lot of light. I've gotten mixed results. I do think taking it outside is the way to do it. So sunny, which is f11, or in the shade, which I believe is f8, are your two options for that. But I would probably recommend leaving it on sunny, going outside, and either shooting landscapes or portraits for your first roll. So let's go ahead and open this guy up and take a look. So there are two little metal latches here. You bring both of them down and you can pop it open. If it wants to come open, there we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna move this out of the way. So I think this is kind of where the Holga gets its toy nature from. It's very, I mean, look, there's not much to it. You can see in here, there's a little metal spring for the shutter. That's how that operates, how that works. It's kind of cool looking. There is, let me take this, I'm gonna explain this in a minute. This is actually kind of important too. Put your roll here. We have some padding for your film. Sometimes in this model, there actually was a little plastic piece here that would frame up the image. It would add squares to it, make it a square image. I took that piece out because I like the vignetting, the circle image, and I'll show you what that looks like. So if you want kind of that vignette, that circle image, you would take this plastic piece out, and that's what you would get. But we need to remove that piece. It's pretty easy to do. We just pop it out and just put it away. So my images come out with a nice little circular vignette. I like that. It's just sort of preference. You can leave it in there if you want. Let's take this, go ahead and take this out. Pops out like that, very easy. If you remember from my other video, there's a little button. There's no button with a Holga, right? You just pop it out, you pull it down, it comes right out. You put it over on this side. And again, if you don't have one of these, message me, I'll get you one. You slide it in, it fits pretty well. Again, this thing's a little wonky sometimes, and you just rotate it until you have that right there for your film. Okay, let's go ahead and open up some film and let's slide it across and see what that process looks like. This is probably I don't know, it's not hard, it's a little, it flusters me a little bit. I think it's the best way to say it. It flusters me when I put film here because everything feels really loose and not secure because of sort of the plastic nature of this camera. So just keep that in mind. And that's why I have this piece here to sort of offset the film. This is an old photo, this is an old Ilford box. And what you do is you just fold it down, just a little piece of paper or something, fold it down and you set it here to kind of keep the film in place as it advances. I don't know if you absolutely need to do that. When I first learned this camera, I had a friend who was a big Holga shooter and she swore by it. So all you do is just put a little piece of cardboard or something here and it'll help the film. I've actually never shot it without it, so I can't even say if it works, but right now it's almost like a good luck charm. So let's go ahead, open up. We're gonna be shooting with some Portra 400 120. This is one of my favorite films, as you guys know. And yeah, what we do, there we go, start that. Then you can get it off. Take this off. I like to get some of the gook off here too. A little bit of goop. Okay. So then what I want to do is I'm going to get this in here. So a little tricky. All right, so you see, I don't know if you guys can see this, but you see how this is not in there super well? It kind of pops up some. that's normal for the most part. And so what you do to kind of help that is you put this piece down here to kind of wedge it in. And that kind of helps with that little bit of movement. So then you take this out very slowly and we put it over on the other side. Get it in this little slot here. Oh man, I'm having a hard time. It is not easy loading film and filming yourself at the same time. And then push it through. You just start to advance it. Keep that down too. It's such a weird camera, but it is pretty great. Okay. And so at this point, I would put the lid back on, and you can see my piece of paper is kind of down there. It's wedged. It's not bouncing as much. Helps out with that. And then all we're going to do is put this back on like this. Clip the metal things up. We're going to take the tape off so we can see. Okay. So it looks like I passed by the 1, which is a shame. So now we are on 2 instead of 1. So you'll see a number here, it'll say 1, mine says 2 because I went too far, I missed the 1, and you close this piece of tape up and you're ready to shoot. And then when you're shooting, you just advance it to 3 and keep going down. And that's kind of all there is to it once you have your film in there. The next step that you want to do is you want to make sure that you're not getting as many light leaks in your film. So all you want to do is you can use something called gaff tape, which is amazing. I love, love, love gaff tape. It is so handy. It's like super duper duct tape, basically. I use it for so much stuff. It's expensive, it's not cheap, but it is a great thing to have on hand if you're into photography. So let's go ahead and tape this thing up. I'll show you what that looks like. Now some people just tape up the back. I tape up everywhere. I'm crazy about it, right? You basically want to tape everywhere where light could get in, possibly. So I tape up the back, I tape up the sides. You kind of experiment with that and decide. I generally will tape at the top here. I'll come along the side. I'll tape up the bottoms. Like I'll go nuts. Like I really will go crazy with the gaff. We're ready to shoot now. This camera is good to go, has film loaded, and all we would do is basically set up, again, portrait, landscape to start off with, decide if you want to use bulb or just your 1/100th, shady, sunny, and you're good to go. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for taking a look at the Holga 120N. Hopefully this has been helpful for you in learning a little bit more about the camera and seeing some of the images that you can take with it. You know, I think the most important thing about this camera is have fun with it. Really have fun with it. Allow yourself to experiment. Allow yourself to get out there. Really get out there and enjoy this camera. You know, one of the things that I like to think about when I'm shooting with this is embrace the imperfections of this camera. Embrace the imperfections. I mean, for me, it's not always all about getting that tack sharp focus. It's not always about getting something with the most clarity. Sometimes it's just about having a little bit of fun, really letting yourself go, trying to get some images that you normally wouldn't get on any other camera. Have fun with this, guys. I hope you enjoy it. And guys, if you could, please make sure to like and subscribe below. It really helps out the channel. I'm a new YouTuber, so the liking and subscribing are just huge, and it really, really helps. And also, if you have any questions, please make sure to drop them into the comments below. And I just wanted to thank you guys for watching. And as always, guys, just remember, the darkroom isn't dead.